Mr. Ambassador, Board of Directors of the University, Director of the University Library, honorable guest. I was not prepared that we would have a guest from abroad, so but I try to speak in English and Dutch, but you can understand. I was requested to address you about something about the history of the library and something about the Chinese culture, since my father was Chinese. And so I have two sections. One section is about the library. The other section I will explain you some Chinese things. First, the library, it has a long history, as you hear from the director of the library. The first idea come from our Prime Minister in that time, Mr. Pennell. He was involved with the problem that the intellectuals of Suriname, they don't have a place to get together and to talk about science and that could be used for the development of the country. They always meet those who has reached the high position already in the society, that those were tradesmen and businessmen in the society at Park. So his idea was to make a place for them that they can discuss their scientific matter. And he came to the idea to make a scientific library. So the first name of this project was Wetenschappelijke Bibliotheek. Later the name was changed to University Library, and I think it's changed now to Central Library. So if you see his statue on the Independence Square, he's standing before the Ministry of Finance, and he's crossing the street to go to the park. That was the society where the intellectuals were coming to drink chew, as you call it in Chinese, with the businessmen. He thought that is not a good idea. So when he got the idea to build the library, he stepped out of his ministry and to cross the plaza to go to a park, the society, to tell the intellectuals, I'm going to make a place for you, I just got the idea. So that statue is symbolic for that. I don't know if that was the idea of the artist who made the statue. But it's something to remind you when you pass the onafhankelijkheidsplein. Anyway, to finance this project, Suriname got aid from the Netherlands. It was so-called CAR-project, Cultureel Adviesraad. It was for cultural projects. There was an architect, Mr. Van Nommeren, who was in charge with the design of a wetenschappelijke bibliotheek. After the tendering was a failure. The budget was too small to build the project. It was 2.5 million Dutch florin. It's maybe about 1.3 euro now. So it was impossible to build that design of Mr. Van Nommeren. And I don't know, I was not in Suriname that time, why they did not discuss with the contractors to do some additional changes to the building to meet the available money to build it. So that part of the story I don't know. But maybe about 10 to 15 years after the tendering, I got in charge with this plan. to build een wetenschappelijk bibliotheek. To build it from the same amount of money, of 2.5 million Dutch florin. And time was running, Suriname became independent, and they want to finish the car project, and it has to be done in that period. It was in the 70s. After independence, I got in charge with it. My counterpart from the university was Mr. Hein Ursel, Dr. Reinhardt, Ingenieur Spong, and Ina Tsai, chong, my sister, was director of the library. So the influence they had on the architect is the result from what you see here behind. The construction started in 1981, and the project was. Is that one? I think that the store. The delivery was in 1983, so 30 years ago. The contractor was Ashraf, a very capable contractor. The quality he made here, you will never get such a quality anymore. The craftsmanship of that time, 30 years ago. No, any building in Suriname can be built with that kind of craftsmanship anymore. The advisor for the structure was Sescon Group, Mr. Henk Resida. The advisor for the technical installations was consulting partner. Yes, consulting partners. The steel structure was done by Dorson Construction. The electric installation was by Alfawa. The elevators was by Liao. The air conditioning was by Alfinco. The furniture was by Rayleigh. And yes, that was it, yeah. We started to build in a very difficult period. It was after we got a revolution here, so it was difficult to have materials and to find people to cooperate. So Mr. Ashraf, he bought, when he was able to bought the current Steenslag, I think you call it, I don't know the English word of the moment. He bought it at once. It was a very big hit to do the concrete. Then the library of the Ministry of Openbare Werken, Public Works, they came to take samples and to test it and to give an advice how you could make the concrete, the composition of the concrete. And so you have to understand that this building has to bear a very heavy load. It's the same technique you have to do when you construct a storehouse. It's load of 1,000 kilo per square meter. You have to calculate the building. So you can drill piles into the ground to support it, but you can use another technique, is to dig out part of the soil, the 1.5 meter of the layer that is not good, and you make a new layer of sand, and you drill it, you press it, that it's able to bear the weight. And that's what we did here. So the first floor is the same as the foundation of the building. After it was cast, the foundation, that's the first floor, we do the test to check the quality, if it has the strength enough. After 28 days, as it should be the last test you do, it did not reach the strength. The advisor for the construction said, well, then we have to knock down the structure again. It will not bear the load. I said, if you knock it down, it's 20% of the sum of the contractor. If the contractor, it was tendering, so maybe his range for risk and his profit is maybe 8 to 10%. So he will never finish the project. Can't you check if it is not a cement quality that is binding very slow, not as it should be, like the technical description of that type of cement, but that it takes a long time to reach the strength. He said, okay, but we don't have cubes to test the concrete anymore. I said, is there not another way to test it? He said, oh yes, it's a hammer to shoot it, and then you can get some result of the strength. And so we did it. Instead of 28 days, he got the strength. It took 3 months. It got the good strength. And I said, okay, then we accept this now. And then we start going up with the construction. And when the laboratory came back to take the samples to do the test for the first floor, then I check what they advise and the result of the test. I think the first time they made a mistake. The samples they used for this building was a sample of another work. So it was een totaal andere gradatie van de materialen en een totaal andere morteladvies. So after we cast the first floor, everything was 28 days was correct, what the advisor wanted. And so the building could pass very fast. So if I had listened to my advisor to knock the building down, it would never be built, this building. It has a long time before that the money lost value, and it was the end of that fund, the car fund, so there would not be additional funds. So these things happen in the past in Suriname already. If it was the European community, they would take the money again. But the Dutch allow us to keep the money for that bloodshed more than 15 years long. But they don't raise it, they had no more money for that fund. So we had to design a smaller building than it was in the beginning planned to have. So you can compare what would have happened, just like the Stondansi project. The Stondansi project was a fund by the European community. Since the tendering was a failure, nobody could meet the amount of money. The European community, they took the money back, and now Suriname is asking the aid of China to start that project again in the Nikeri River. It was a project to bring sweet water, to push the salt water, to use the water of the river for irrigation on the one side, and to get electricity. So for this building we were lucky it was not the European Commission, otherwise we would never have a library if I had followed the advice of my advisor. As I think what I can tell more, the principle of the structure is what has to bear the heavy load is made of concrete. So this part is a concrete structure, and the part that has to support the roof, you need very long span for it, is made of steel. So you have a very long span from steel structure here, going till the fountain in the middle. And I'm glad to hear from Mr. Jane that there will be a renovation. I hope the things that were changed in this building, that they come again. In the front here, you have an open drain. It was a very important drain. It was designed based on the feng shui to have water in front of the building. It was a wooden Japanese bridge you have to cross before you enter the building. To prepare your mind, you come into something that is different. It's all gone. But it's not only for the soft side of the technique, but also for real. I cannot imagine on a university that drainage is very important. This whole area is drained by a creek that is it's crossing the library of the university area and go to the Saramaka Canal. It's very difficult to drain this area. So if you close this drain, all the water is coming here. If there is a problem with the Kasaba Olo Creek, then the water don't float fast enough in here. Then the water races in the tubes that has to come from the roofs. Then you get problem of the roof. If the water cannot come fast down, you get problem there. So if you want to prevent problems, we're getting more and more climate change. Open the drain again and make my Japanese bridge again. Another thing what I see, there is paint put on everything. I have got my training in Japan. I have learned from the Zen Buddhism to work with what is pure in the nature. So the concrete was pure, the color of concrete. These wooden windows and wooden frames, they were brown hard. Is one of the best quality wood in the world. So the dark brown color. I don't know how somebody can get an idea to put paint on brown art. It will stay 1,000 years. You see those rabbit, small rabbit, you have it in the ceiling of the upper floor also. It's PC wood. No any insect can come into that wood, bite that wood. It has something that protects the wood. It's not strong, the wood, but it will last forever. All the old historic buildings in Suriname, the windows are made of PC. The supporting beams are made of brown art. I don't know how someone can get the idea to put paint on brown art and PC. So take it away. For the university board, I advise you also, the blue color on that building, paint it white again. The blue color attracts the ultraviolet rays from the sun. It makes the building hotter and hotter. So you will spend a lot of money on cooling the building, electricity. So for the tropical, white is the best color for such a building. The blue is the worst color. so far this part. Can I have a bit of water maybe? Then I have to go to the Chinese part I was requested to tell. I grew up with a Chinese father and a Surinamese mother. As a child, I haven't been able to learn Chinese. So now I'm 6 years already busy to do what I have not been able to do. I'm learning Mandarin at the Chinese school. And from the lesson they are very important to learn Mandarin. The textbook to learn Chinese, you learn the culture and you learn very important morals, which the Chinese have, which are very good morals. One of the moral is you should never accept a compliment. If you accept a compliment, you are not a civilized person. If you say a compliment to a Chinese, never say thank you. The younger new generation who have contact with the West, they say thank you. But the older generation, they say nali, nali. That means where? I'm not so far. I did not reach that level. Even it's the most highest scholar people, you will say nali, nali. So all those good things. And first we were using books that came from China, and which the children are learning now. Now we are using books. It's a method developed special for foreigners to learn Chinese. The new practical Chinese reader. But the books of the Chinese children, they are so beautiful. The Minister of Education should try to look in those books what the children learn. Yeah, dank u wel. They learn, for instance, about the history of people when they were child who reach a very important level in the culture, how their childhood was and how they behave in their life. One such a person was Tsai. It's the same name like mine tsai, chong. But Mr. Tsai was the inventor of paper. He invented the paper not for writing, but in the first place to make clothes for the army, legeruniformen, and also of Western important person, Mr. Lincoln. How his childhood was, is all example for the children how to behave and how to grow up, how to learn. It's very good system. By learning the language, you learn very good morals and very good qualities of life. But I will tell you something about the influence on the Chinese. The older generations has been influenced by Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, and arbitrary rules of the several dynasties. Each dynasty made its own rules. Then at last, in the beginning of the last century, came Mr. Sun Yat-sen, who kicked out the last emperor of China. I think till Sun Yat-sen, my father had all this influence before when he grew up in China. My father came here about 90 years ago. But he was following with his friends what was happening later. Out of Sun Yat-sen you get these two directions, the nationalism from Chiang Kai-shek and Mao Zedong with the communism. At last, Mao Zedong was the one who could succeed to unite China again. And he made the basis for a strong China. It was very rigid. And after Mao Zedong, we get Deng Xiaoping. Of Deng Xiaoping, to say it good, do I say it good, Mr. Ambassador? Deng Xiaoping. And Deng Xiaoping introduced the two systems, the communism and capitalism. And that is what brings China now to the second largest economy in the world. Everybody who came after him followed that line. But the basic of what China is now was by Mao Zedong to put the basic structure. And out of that structure, you get the modification, mixture with capitalism. And nowadays, everybody in the world wants to move with China forward. China as the lead in emerging. India also, Brazil also, but China is now the second largest economy. Depends on the way you see it. There are some scholars who said China is now the #1 largest economy because the rural area is different developed than the cities. So the wages are lower in the rural areas, but the prices are cheaper in the rural areas. So if you make a matrix and calculate, some scholars said China is the largest economy in the movement. It's a pity that we don't get here a Confucius institution. I know the Chinese government tried it. 2 years ago there was a Chinese professor here. As I understand now, the Confucius institution will come on the University of Trinidad for the region. Something more about the Chinese. If you pass the cemetery, you will see. Yeah. You will see all the graves, they are lying with their head in the north. That is the influence of Taoism and Feng Shui. The north is the yin power, the south is the yang power. So the Chinese invent the compass, not for navigation, but to be sure their ancestors lie in the good direction in their graves. And then you can see the influence of Confucius on the Chinese again. That going once a year to the grave to bring food and to eat with the ancestors is Confucius. You should respect your ancestor, your father, your mother, everybody is old. It's a very good moral from Chinese. We all should learn that. My father had also those kind of things. Besides all the influence he was carrying with him, he became Christian in Suriname. But he was doing gardening, planting flowers. When he dig a hole to put a flower, he was talking to the soil first to ask permission. He was talking to Kwaku Driesi. Kwaku Driesi was the Redimusu who has lived on that soil. No Freeman Grong was the area where the slaves who went to fight against the other slaves, they get a piece of soil there, they become free and they could live there. And Kwakudrius, he was the first person. So his spirit there on the soil, my father was talking to him to ask permission to make a hole. But that is also Taoism. He was busy with Taoism, with Suriname folk belief, but he was also busy with Taoism. In Taoism, the belief is that there is a line, power lines in the soil that is connecting everything in the nature. It's in fact not a bad system, because in fact the magnetism of the earth is the basic of the feng shui. It has a very strong influence on people. If you see the planets, when the moon comes near to the earth, you see the water race at sea and in the rivers. It's the power of objects in nature that attracts its other. So it was in fact the science of that time, Taoism and Feng Shui. But there are some other special things I want to tell you also about the Mandarin language. It's a language of perfect tones and perfect pronunciation. And you will go to a dumpling restaurant and the waitress come to you and you ask the waitress, Iwan Shui, Tuo Xiao Jian, then you have asked a cup of dumplings, what's the price of that? But there are 6 words. If only one word you give the wrong tone. So I said shui, but if you said Iwan Shui, Tuo Xiao Chen, so of the 6 words you change only one tone. It means, what is the price to sleep with you tonight? So if the woman take you and throw you out of the restaurant, then your tone was wrong. Er zijn veel interessante dingen. Als ik nog eentje mag. If we see our presidential palace, how the palace was put in the landscape, it's perfect feng shui. You would thought it was put there by a Chinese feng shui master. Only at the building there are something that has to be changed. The road in front that goes through the porch of the palace is not a good thing, so one should close the road. But to ride like that around, it's a very good feng shui for the palace. The way the palace looks to the south, facing the south, is exact how it should be with the palace. There is a river there. The river is from south to north. In feng shui, it should be from west to east, like the rivers in China is. But never mind that one. We had flag poles, vlakke plain that was in the south. That was the phoenix or the pheasant. It's feng shui. We have on the east side the tamarind trees, that is the yellow dragon. We have on the west side the tower, the Ministry of Finance, that is the white tiger. It's exact at the good place. We had at the back the yin power, that is the palm tree with the mountains of palm trees. It forms a mountain. That is good yin energy. The river is yang energy. It's a perfect place for a president to live in. It's a pity our president don't live in. In Chinese feng shui, the father is the important person. If it's going good with the father, if it is house, the place he sleep, the place he come in the house, the direction he work, then it will be good for the family also. So the president is the father of the nation. He is not living in the place that is good for him to live, according to Feng Shui. And last year, I saw suddenly the Fasantis moved to the east, the Flache Plain. It's moved to the east from the south. Some trees, the dragon, were cut there. The trees are 300 years there. Last year was the year of the dragon, and you destroy something of the dragon. I said, this is not a good sign. We will get problem. You see, the Minister of Finance is not allowed to stay in the last one. There is on the moment, there is on internet, you can get maybe an email who is telling you that next year, August, there will be 5 Fridays, 5 Saturdays, and 5 Sundays. That is a very good sign. And they said in the email, it's based on Chinese Feng Shui. I look at that, I said, no, it's not Chinese Feng Shui. It's Chinese numerology based on lucky numbers. You know, we have Piao here. Piao is based on the lucky numbers. But I will tell you why. You have 3 times 5. 3 is wood, 5 is earth. You have 3 times earth. 8 is also earth, so you have very much earth. But what is missing to see it as Feng Shui is the 9 is missing. 9 is fire. The wood is stimulating the fire to change the earth to metal. Metal is money. So if you look at the Chinese lucky numbers, from that side you have to look at it. 4 is a very bad number in Chinese. 4 is Si. It's associated with Si. Si means the dead. So Chinese, just like Western, avoid the number 13. 13 is the sign of Judas. The Western avoid 13. The Chinese avoid 4. But every month, 4 is dominating. The number 4, you have every time 4 of the same days almost. 5 is a minority. But if it's in 1 month, that is August, 8 is a lucky month. It's the lucky month. And you have 3 times 5 of the same days. And 5 is not a lucky number in Chinese, but this 5 suppress the 4, the unlucky number. That means a very good sign. So it happened once in more than 800 years that you will have this August next year. So I hope I could tell you something that might be interesting about the library and of the 160 years of Chinese immigration.